Tell us about what folks will see on this three-part docuseries that you've done.
Yeah, great to be here, Robin. Yeah, so this is a three-part series all about the events of April 19th, 1995. And what we really wanted to do was put the voices of those who were there that day front and center of this series. And we've used some amazing archive from News 9 as well from the day to really help us just focus moment by moment on what happened that day and the impact that had as well, not just in the immediate aftermath, but, to this day.
Who are the people that you've profiled in this documentary that will be on Nat Geo, Disney, and Hulu? Who will people see from Oklahoma?
Well, one of the things that really struck me actually when I came to learn about the Mirror building was that really it's a cross section of society. And I think maybe sometimes people think of a federal building and they have certain perceptions of who might be working there. But these really were ordinary American people. And we really wanted to represent that. So we have survivors, we have, the victims, family members of victims, we have law enforcement, and of course, Robin, you have yourself as well, because News 9 were really there so quickly that, yours is such an invaluable perspective for us of somebody who'd been there that day.
I think some of the stories of the first responders that you profile in the documentary, Ceri, are so powerful. Can you just share a little bit about the first responders and some of the decisions they had to be made inside kind of the shell of that building while trying to rescue people?
Yeah, I think, the response, obviously with it being a federal building, a lot of these people were there super quick right after the bomb went off. And some of those decisions, as you say, when there was fears about a second bomb, in the first episode, we hear from firefighter Mike Shannon about having to decide whether to leave people in the building or not, having told his own crews to get out. And, as he puts in the documentary, that was the worst moment of his career, maybe his life. And I think, we really wanted people to understand those absolutely impossible dilemmas that ordinary people who'd just gone to work that day, were suddenly being tasked with.
It's so emotionally powerful when folks will see the documentary. Ceri, you're from the UK, and you have spent some time in Oklahoma. And so many people talk about the Oklahoma standard of service, honor, and caring. But for someone a world away, when you came here, did you experience that? Or what were your thoughts and kind of maybe preconceived notions before you came to Oklahoma? And then what was it like after you've been here and kind of immersed yourself with the culture and community here in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I guess the first thing to say is, I was a little too young to remember this happening at the time. And so when I heard Oklahoma City before becoming involved with this project, I guess all I knew about it was that there had been a bombing. And, I'm sure that there's a generation like me who actually are coming to what happened for the first time, which is why I'm so passionate about telling this story and telling it right now. But I think, once I started learning about the Oklahoma standard, I'll be completely honest, I guess there was a slightly cynical British part of me that didn't really think it could be a thing. And then I came to Oklahoma and spent time with the people, not just the people we interviewed, but whilst we spent those weeks we did in the city, you can really feel it all around. People would just go out of their way to want to help us in whatever way they could, even if they just met us. And I think I've become a walking tourist board for Oklahoma City now. I'll tell anybody who listen what just a remarkably vibrant city it is with, incredible food and culture. And, it was really special to spend some time there.
Well, we were thrilled to get to meet you. And, the thing about the documentary that is getting ready to be released on April 2nd is that it's told by the people who were there. And I think that is an important aspect of it, that it's through the eyes of the people who lived it. Why was that so important for you guys to kind of select the certain people that you did who experienced it that day 30 years ago?
I think I wanted this series to be quite unflinching in its approach and how we told the story. And I think the best way you can do that is through first-hand testimony. And I also think, the reason I wanted to be unflinching is because I think that's the only way you really understand just how remarkable the resilience, the strength that came after the incident is. There's people all over Oklahoma City, I'm sure, that you walk past them and have no idea that they lived through this event. And so for me, it was really about giving voice to those people to help the viewers as well, really try and viscerally feel what it was like that day, in the hope that, lessons can be learned from the past.
There are 3 episodes. Could you just briefly explain what folks would see on episode 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, of course. The first episode is really quite minute by minute. We look at the bomb itself going off, as well as the people there at News 9, including yourself, trying to piece together what on earth has just happened, as well as the first responders arriving at the scene, and of course the news coming in of the bomb scare, which thankfully turned out to be a false alarm. Then the second episode is really about people really realizing the gravity of what has just happened in their city, as well as these law enforcement people, many of whom knew people in the building, doing their best to try and find the bomber as quickly as possible. And then the third episode is really about the search for justice and healing, and what does that look like, and how it looks differently to different people. And we end the series, and I think the message right there at the end, we interviewed President Bill Clinton as part of this series, and he says towards the end there that actually April 19th still matters, because we need to celebrate our differences. They're essential, but not if it comes at the cost of common humanity. And what Tim McVeigh showed us that day was that actually this is what happens when you forget common humanity. And I think that's a really powerful message, which, even though we're talking about an event which happened 30 years ago, is always resonant.
And President Clinton will be here for the 30th anniversary. He was president during that time. He came for the 20th anniversary, I believe, and then he will be back, we've just learned yesterday, for the 30th remembrance ceremony. Ceri, anything else that you want to add about the Oklahoma City bombing, one day in America, that folks might want to know here in Oklahoma City?
I just hope, first of all, I'm grateful to everybody who did share their story with us, because, to take that leap of faith with somebody and talk about what was obviously such a traumatic day, I'll always be honored and grateful that people trusted us to do that. And, I just really hope that this series serves as a historical record, in a way, of that day, that people can take away and learn from it, and just really commemorate, I guess, all those who were lost as well.
Was there a time for you when you were visiting the city, maybe the memorial, maybe the grounds, maybe the chairs or the reflective pool or the survivor tree? Was there a moment for you that it was take my director hat off and just kind of absorb truly what had happened on what we call those sacred grounds?
I think there were several times. I was in tears several times during the interview processes, and I don't mind admitting that at all. And I think, in particular, actually, in the third episode, you see Bud Welsh, who sadly lost his daughter Julie in the bombing, came back to the memorial with us. And I guess, that was a real moment for me, where the gravity of this man stood where his daughter sadly passed. The enormity of it really sinks in, but then also so did his resilience. And I think that was a remarkable moment, really, to reflect on both of those things.
Well, Ceri, thanks so much. And